Welcome back to The Matrix. Today, brought to you through me. Sorry, it's just me. Couple reasons. I forgot I had a DSLR. Also, I want to be in Betty today. I want to be in Betty Bites today. Get the fuck over, you little cunt.
I have some news concerning the bear.
To justify my setup, let's call this a bedtime broke canon. A blankie broke canon. I've got my blankie here. It's a pajama party. Sleepover at Sam's! Except no one came to my sleepovers because I mostly just dispensed Doctor Who trivia. Anyway, on to today's business. By the way, this is my actual childhood bear I found. Almost definitely Harry. We're blood bonded, but he's a flag shagger. And oop! Fact number 1, please. The Doctor's got ink. Big deal. Everyone's got a tattoo. I've got a tattoo. I've got 2. For the record, I don't know what either of these represent. There's an emoji of this one. Sometimes tattoos don't have to mean anything. But the third Doctor's very much does have a purpose. In this scandalous scene from 1970's Spearhead from Space, eagle-eyed viewers may be able to see a tattoo of a snake on the Doctor's right forearm. If you're not distracted in other places, really obsessive and devoted fans in the Wilderness years, Paul Mars, came to the collective fan theory that the snake was a tattoo given to him by the Time Lords, because what sense would it make to regenerate into a person who already has a very specific tattoo? Biologically, that seems unlikely. About as unlikely as regenerating into a man who has fillings. What's your headcanon for that one, guys? No, this tooth. It's a time tooth from ancient Gallifrey. So the tattoo of a snake in the shape of a C, it's the equivalent of a prison tattoo. To denote exiles, convicts. This is the third Doctor's convict tattoo. Yes, Doctor Who fans love minutiae and will cover their asses on anything, it seems. Why does he have it really? Well, John Pertwee got it in his naval days, as he blacked out drunk for a birthday party and woke up with his arm in a bandage, revealing a snake with the letter C, denoting the woman he was seeing at the time. C. Cilicia, the Chancellor. Chronodis, the Corsair. Chancellor, Castellan. I think we'll crack the case. According to his autobiography, John Pertwee did not stay with this woman Carlotta for the rest of his life, meaning now thanks to weirdo Doctor Who fans on the internet, she's been immortalised in canon. Does it really explain why future incarnations don't have the tattoo? I'm not sure. Yeah, the body does reset, but according to Book of the War and Christmas on a Rational Planet, it has biodata in it. Smart nanogenes that can track the criminal's whereabouts. So if that criminal regenerates and resets their body, it's completely useless. In Christmas on a Rational Planet, Romana frees an entire prison complex full of criminals, and they all get a dragon tattoo on their arm. Grandfather Paradox of Faction Paradox, we're not going there today, cuts his arm clean off so he can't be tracked. I would have liked to see the third Doctor do that. Convict tattoos come up actually quite a lot in Faction Paradox. You can attach a snake tattoo to a person and speak through them and see through them. See, this is what Doctor Who canon does to me. You get a bunch of talented, really excessively geeky writers to talk about fan minutiae, and then eventually at some point the fan minutiae might become interesting. John Pertwee's drunken Navy friends, getting a tattoo on his arm as a prank, has influenced culture, actual literature for years to come. Personally, I prefer the idea that John Pertwee just got blackout drunk one night. That can be canon. That can be canon too. A dragon tattoo would later appear in the series Class, but I'm going to dismiss that because I don't really want to talk about Class either. I want to talk about my jammies. Alright, so Wild Time also had a tattoo of a bumblebee riding a bike. I'm onto something here. May and Me used chronolocks in the form of tattoos, and the 8th Doctor had a convict tattoo all of his own. McGann seems a bit too squeaky clean to go to prison. His is of a man turning into a jaguar. And look, I'm saying, I know my tattoos don't have any significance, but that's fucked. So if you're ever in a place in life where you want to get a Doctor Who themed tattoo, that place where I currently am, I'm currently there, it's fine, we'll get through this together. Get a Navyman snake tattoo with the letter C. What does the C stand for? Stands for canon. Fact number 2. The Whitechapel Murderer, Leather Apron, Jolly Jack, Saucy Jack, Jack the Ripper. We all know Jack the Ripper. Except do we? There are still many suspects to this day. Fun fact, they found out just a couple of years, but biologically somehow, DNA evidence from the Victorian era emerged that it was a Polish 23-year-old barber called Aaron Kosminski. I don't get it either, but kudos. You caught Jack the Ripper. In the Whoniverse, there's a whole other list of suspects that they didn't take into consideration in the real world. Because surprise, surprise, a British historical icon, a staple of pop culture, has been tackled a couple times in Doctor Who. Shocker. You may remember in our Halloween episode we spoke about the Lovecraftian Elder Gods. Well, this book involves Jack the Ripper and the Lovecraftian Elder Gods. Yizkarov had to be summoned into the universe somehow, and how better than female prostitute sacrifices. So in this book, Jack the Ripper is a collective of people, the Fellowship. The Doctor caught them red-handed only during their third murder, even though there's 5 canonical murders, and the Doctor himself would later acknowledge that there were probably much more. That's dodgy. And all of the Jack the Rippers burnt in a fire. But then in Matrix, it turns out it's the Valiard. Turn around, little Harry. This is not meant for your tiny bare ears. The Valiard has a number of evil villain plans, even outside of Charles the Time Lord. The fake stick-up courtroom was only his 5th plan. One of his others involved using the Dark Matrix to make a fake timeline where Jack the Ripper was still out claiming victims.
But tasty all the same.
So did he go round in his big Time Lord garb with the knife himself? No, he summoned 12 conduits in the form of 12 of the Doctor's spirits. Was it spirits? Yeah, spirits. And killed the prostitutes that way. Just imagine Patrick Troughton bent over a dead prostitute with a knife in his hand. Jargo and Lightfoot meets him at one point. He's actually apprehended, but then let go because of his relations to the royal family. The 5th Doctor said he always wanted to get to the bottom of the mystery and find out once and for all because he wrote books under the name Doctor Who. But by the time of his 8th incarnation, he's confirmed that he does know who did the killings. He doesn't tell us which of those suspects it was, of course. Yeah, no, that's weird too, because the 8th Doctor then met a gargoyle-like alien creature in the streets of London. Turned out he was kind of a good guy, killed the odd person. And the Doctor just left him to his business, didn't take him home, just left him to stalk the streets of Soho. And then you get to the new series, and for some reason the annuals feel like getting involved. The 11th and Amy storied Ripper's Curse. I read that, I googled that. I used the wiki for that, fuck you. Takes place in a post-Time War world where the Rena war criminal Makatide was connected to the final 3 murders. I don't always do this. Sue me, I didn't read the annual for babies. Spring-Heeled Jack wasn't even on the wiki actually, so... Despite the repeated returns to Victorian London, the revival has not come back to Jack the Ripper. Probably because Madame Vastra found him and ate him.
Jack the Ripper has claimed his last victim.
How did you find him?
Stringy, but tasty all the same.
They were so desperate for that spin-off. Oh, and the towns of Weng Chiang. Why did we need to have any of these expansions? It was answered in the towns of Weng Chiang. Just settle. You did that one already, Doctor. You did that one. In truth, I only did this section because I wanted to recommend the far superior movie Time After Time, where the historic H.G. Wells in his self-created time machine has to travel to modern day to capture Jack the Ripper. What do you want? My letterboxd? It's a goddamn film recommendation. You're welcome. Omega, or Omegon for legal reasons, once told CANON Mark 1 that he invented time travel all by himself by harnessing the power of 1,000 suns. Other times they'll tell you it's by unleashing the untapped potential of a supernova. Or a black hole. In fact, his story does seem to change quite a lot. In some stories, Omega had nothing to do with the actual process of time travel itself. So maybe he's a hack fraud. Going from Time Lord mythology, I would not be surprised. It also may or may not have been as a result of faction paradox. The second book of Interference tries to claim time travel as being of their design as well, as he gave in some state propaganda that was put out there by the faction. But I don't want to talk about any of that. We covered Omega last time. He's a massive dork. Every reappearance in the series just gets a little bit more pitiful until you realise why we'll be scared of this guy in the first place. He's just a regular Time Lord. Oh yeah, he's all high and mighty when he's in an antimatter dimension of his own design. But take him out of it and he's just a melty boy. with Chicken Man. In the Big Finish Audio Omega, yeah, we're doing that one today. We are in the Far Off Museum of Time Travel, an entire exhibit devoted to Omega and his tragedy. His betrayal. A betrayal so bad that he cut off both of his hands that both became like nuclear weapons or something. I hate this show. In creating time travel, Omega gained a conscience and realised that destroying that star would destroy a species called the Scintillions. They would all be destroyed in the blaze, and realising the guilt of this, but then still going ahead with it anyway, Omega believes he cut his own hand off in guilt, fury. He's cutting off hands, and then used his other hand to go ahead and kill them anyway. And that's why we find him in the story Omega, ruminating over the decision, the sacrifice he had to make. It's a really tragic, affecting story, probably one of the best Big Finishes ever put out. But then spoilers. Don't let me spoil Omega for you, that final part is gold. I know my series is just spoiler material, but trust me, click off. The Fifth Doctor wanders in part 4, during the final 10 minutes of the story, and says that he wasn't really in the story the whole time. The entirety, the conflict, the struggle of Omega was entirely in this mad despot's brain.
It's a very sad and tragic story. If it were true.
What are you saying?
You made it up. You didn't kill the Scintillans. You've created a fiction. A story in your mind to explain away what Vandekirian did to you.
I don't understand.
You didn't kill the Scintillans. It was me. I killed them.
You?
Roleplay based, audio serialized schizophrenia. After his humiliating defeat at the end of Arc of Infinity, there's a looming Fifth Doctor voice in his mind. A psychological Peter Davison crushing him, torturing him. Just as a result of, it turns out, mental illness, madness. But also mainly the fact that the Doctor corrupted his memories. And his memories have fused together with the Doctor's. And it turns out that Omega's source of guilt, that horrible genocide he committed on the Scintillions, was actually a memory of the Doctor's. Meaning, the Fifth Doctor committed a genocide, felt bad about it, but then passed it off onto Omega, making him feel madness-inducing guilt for a horrific crime that his rival, the good guy, committed. It's messed up. It's messed up!
There was a Lerman colony just outside the Stegoran asteroid belt. I arrived there whilst they were being attacked by a band of pirates. Unfortunately, what I didn't know was that the asteroid belt was also home to the Scintillans. They were beings of pure thought, Omega, and I made a terrible mistake. They were completely destroyed. You must have taken my memories and made them your own.
He did it all along. Poor old Omega was completely blameless. Perhaps he is a hero after all.
Remember that Omega was the Doctor's childhood hero, taking the phrase "kill your heroes" really to heart. But then I remember that the Doctor is one of the other creators of time travel, and that he and Rassilon probably executed him, and it makes a little bit more sense. So that makes 0 genocides on his end, and 3 on the Doctor's? 4. No, maybe 5. It's still shocking to me that the Time Lord Victorious event ends with 10 going, whoops, commit another genocide. Feel kind of bad about it though. And then he flies off triumphantly to the next adventure with no repercussions. Boggling. The Doctor killed an entire species. In cold blood. It's not like there's no precedent for it. This fact goes out to the late Bob Baker, creator of Omega and K9. I'm still waiting for the feature movie where the two meets. It's gonna happen one day. I know it. And Brian Blessed is canonically Omega. Alright, I'm done. Good night, sweet prince.